Hi friends! Welcome back to another video. This video is coming out a little bit later than I had originally planned because I actually broke my camera lens the other day. I dropped it and I was waiting for a new one to come in. Today though, I am excited to spend the day resetting and preparing for a new month, the month of November. November is definitely one of my favorite months in the year, but a very interesting time of the year, I think. A kind of transitional period when spooky season is over and winter and holidays are on the horizon. I've always been a huge Christmas lover, so I tend to start getting ready as soon as possible, to prolong the season as much as I can, though I do understand not everybody is quite ready for that yet. I have personally already started decorating for Christmas a little bit, though I do kind of want to focus on enjoying November for what it is, a time of transition and change. So I'm very excited to get ready for the month and hopefully make it the best that it can be. In this video, I will be, of course, setting up my reading journal for the month of November, and while I do that, I thought I could chat about my October reading wrap-up. I also will be doing kind of random, but some plant repotting, and while I do that, I want to talk about all the books that I hope to get to in November. And to start out this video, I thought we could do kind of a little bit of an October review and highlights. I have recently added a new spread into my monthly bullet journal, and this is the first month that I'm going to be filling it out, so I'm really excited about it. Basically, at the start of October, when I was originally setting up my bullet journal for the month, I created a spread that I called my monthly highlights, kind of just an empty page that I was hoping to maybe fill up with some pictures at the end of the month. What I've done is I've basically just gone through my camera roll from October and picked out some highlights and some memories and basically just put them onto a Google Doc. I'm now cutting them out, and I'm going to create a bit of like a collage situation, hopefully, on this page. I don't know, I think I just really want to start adding more pictures and photos in general to my journal. I think it's just such a nice way to remember certain parts of the month, and overall October was a really fun month for me, so it is very special to kind of document that in my bullet journal. Just cutting out all of the pictures. I'm going to kind of rearrange them. I will say next month I'll definitely make sure to make the pictures maybe a little bit smaller because it's kind of hard for me to fit them all on one page. Maybe in the future I could also make this like a 2-page spread because I do have a lot of pictures that I wanted to include, but I just didn't have enough room. October was honestly such a fun month for me. It ended up being quite a bit busier than I thought. I went on 2 different trips at the beginning and the end of the month. Both were really fun. I was really trying to make the most of fall, and I am happy to say that now, as we're kind of in the start of November, it has definitely been super cool where I live. It happened very suddenly, I feel like. One day it was just very much like late summer weather, very hot still, and then the next day it dropped by like 30 degrees, so I mean, I'll take it. It's definitely getting a little bit chilly in the mornings, but I do love this crisp kind of late autumn weather. Besides the 2 trips that I went on, I also have some fun memories with some friends, and then also Halloween as well, which ended up being so fun. I didn't do anything crazy. I honestly spent most of the day carving and painting my pumpkin, which was a bit of a recreation of my November November theme. Yeah, overall just a really good month. I had so many good memories. I'm happy to document them now, and definitely looking forward to everything that November has to offer. I love November. There's so much to look forward to. I'm curious to know what all of you guys have been up to in October, what some of your favorite memories were, and maybe what you hope to get to in November as well, whether that's books or activities off of a bucket list. After I finished taping all the pictures, I kind of went in with one of my pens to write out what some of the memories were exactly, and then with the extra space I went back with my fall sticker pack, which I love, to kind of fill in all the gaps with some leaves. And I do really love how it turned out. A little bit messy looking, but I kind of like the whole collage scrapbook look. That's it for my October highlights page. I'm honestly so glad that I ended up doing this page, and I'm very excited to see how my November one turns out. It is time for probably my favorite part of the reset, which is setting up my reading journal for the month of November. I'm not doing anything crazy this month. I'm kind of keeping my general layout and system that I've been doing the past couple of months, with doing my TBR page on one side and my kind of reading stats page on the other side. As far as theme goes, I thought it would be really cute to do a mushroom theme for November because, well, for one, I've just been obsessed with mushrooms recently, but I also picked up these really cute mushroom stickers in early October, and I've been wanting to use them in a setup. Other than the mushroom stickers, I also did a cool kind of like ripped tiling stamped lettering effect for my titles, but other than that, the setup is pretty much the same as always. Later on in the video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my TBR for November, all the books that I hope to get to later in this month, but I thought that I would use this time as I set up my reading journal to talk about all the books that I read in October and give you guys a little bit of a wrap up. So in total, I read 8 books in October. It was a really good reading month. I didn't have any 5 stars, but pretty much every book I read was a really high 4 stars, so that was really fun. I finished 8 books, but I do feel like I was reading a lot. I think it was just one of those months that I was starting a lot of books, getting pretty far into a lot of books, and just not finishing them before the month actually ended. Let's start with the first 3, which I did actually include in, I think, my first vlog of October when I was on a bit of a vacation. First, we have The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig, and I think I have to say Erin A. Craig is a new favorite author of mine. I've only read 2 books from her so far, but I just love her writing. I love the way she combines kind of just like a very whimsical, wholesome fairy tale atmosphere, but also has a bit of like a gothic, dark, eerie side to it as well. Her stories are so addictive and atmospheric and well written. I really love them, and this one was no different. I would probably give it around a 4.25 stars if you love books with gods and found family and very connectable characters and a very kind of fairy tale-esque atmosphere, then I would definitely recommend this to you. The story was very unique and so intriguing. I loved it. This was the only book I brought with me on my vacation, and so I did go to a local bookstore to pick up my next read, and this was actually really fun because it was a blind date with a book, which I've never done before. Basically, some bookstores will wrap up books blindly, a bit like a Christmas present, and then give a couple clues on the front cover, kind of telling you what the book is about. The book ended up being a book I've never heard about before, but The Third Wife of Faraday House, which Honestly, I don't really know what genre this belongs to. I would say historical mystery with a bit of like a paranormal aspect to it, a bit of a romance as well. I had so much fun reading this, I couldn't put it down. I don't think the mystery is super crazy or anything, but I was just so invested the whole time. I loved the character development. It takes place on this kind of haunted manor on this remote island, and it was just so atmospheric and really fun to read. I also picked up a novella by T. Kingfisher, Thornhedge, my second T. Kingfisher book, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I don't really rate novellas. This is kind of a combination of a Rapunzel and Sleeping Beauty retelling, and it was cute, it was funny, I enjoyed it. To kind of get into more of the spooky spirit, later on in October I read a couple cozy witchy stories, the first one being Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. I was a little bit disappointed with this one, I can't lie. It was really cute and really cozy, and I definitely think a lot of other people would like it, but I don't know, something about it just didn't really stick with me, and I just really didn't enjoy the main character. I think that was probably the main reason I didn't love it. But I can tell that it was very well written, so I definitely recommend it. It is a cozy witch story that takes place in London in the 90s and fall, so you can bet it was super atmospheric. And then a little bit on a whim, I decided to read Phantasma by Kaylee Smith because it was on my Kindle, and I had never really heard about this book before, and then I saw one person recommend it, and I instantly downloaded it and started reading it. I'm honestly not a huge fan most of the time of these kind of darker romantic-y stories. I just don't enjoy the characters, and I don't know, I think I just prefer more kind of lighter stories, I guess. This one ended up being so good though, I couldn't put it down, I just need to know what was going to happen. I ended up really liking the characters, and though there definitely was like violence and gore and whatnot, the storyline was just so addictive, and I really enjoyed the characters as well. It had OCD representation, which I've never read about before, so that was very interesting to me to kind of see how our main character's mind worked. It was also super spooky, such a good book for Halloween because there were all sorts of different like devils and ghosts and phantoms, and overall just a really addicting story that I had a really fun time reading. Probably my favorite book that I read this month would have to be The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.G. Perry. I was so excited to read this all year, and I actually found it early at one of the Barnes & Nobles. It was put out a week early, and so I was so excited about it. Of course, I had to read it immediately, and it was so good. Not quite what I was expecting, but really good. I think just kind of like based off of the title and the synopsis, I was expecting it to be a little bit more like Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia Fairies, which is one of my favorite series ever. I thought it would be kind of like a historical, magical academia story, and it was, but I think it ended up being a lot more similar to Babel by R.F. Kuang than Emily Wilde. I think this would technically count as a dark academia story, but I don't know, just the plot of it, the character dynamics, the story, the kind of sad and dark undertones to the story just reminded me so much of Babel by R.F. Kuang, which I read earlier this year and gave 5 stars, so to me that's a huge compliment. It wasn't quite as like whimsical and atmospheric as I thought, but it did make me think a lot, and you know, it's been a little while since I've finished this book now, and I'm still thinking about the ending and the characters and kind of the sadder parts to it as well. It really is just a dark academia book that also talks a lot about World War I and kind of the fictional magical side to it, but also very much real wartime themes. I would definitely recommend this too if you love reading about very messy friendships and character dynamics. There is definitely a very magical side to it. It takes place at this school in England that's kind of like a magical combination of Cambridge and Oxford, which I thought was really unique. Overall, I just really loved it. I also read A Dark and Secret Magic by Wallace Kinney, which is another super cute witchy book, but this one I think was my favorite out of all of them that I've read this year. That's just because the writing was so lush and just the most fall Halloween book ever. It made me so excited for the season. Just one of the coziest stories I've ever read, to be honest. And then the last book that I read in October is Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio, one of my favorite authors ever. I was so excited to read this. I don't really rate novellas, though I did really enjoy this one. I guess my only critique would be that it was a little bit too short. But I love M.L. Rio's writing so much, and the story was very intriguing as well, so a really good time, I think. That is it for all the books I read in October, and also the end of my November reading journal setup. I love how it turned out. I think the mushrooms are so cute. that I have my reading journal set up for November, let's move on to the last part of my reset. While I spent some time repotting my indoor plants, I thought we could chat about all the books that I hope to get to in November. I have my official November TBR, which I just showed you in my reading journal, but I also have a couple other books in mind that I hope to get to. I feel like October was a month that I was reading a lot and starting a lot of books, but not necessarily finishing a lot of them. So going into November, there are a couple books that I got pretty far into in October that I hope to finish up this month. For one, we have It by Stephen King, my buddy read that has been lasting so many months. But I do really hope to finish it up in November. I am almost done with it, so that is the first book that I am going to prioritize, probably this first week of November. I also went on a pretty long road trip in October, and while we were driving, we were listening to Lord of the Rings, the first one, The Fellowship of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I grew up absolutely loving and watching the Lord of the Rings movies so many times, but I have never actually read the books before, so I was really excited to start that on this road trip. I got pretty far into it, and I'm really enjoying it so far, so I can't wait to finish that up. Maybe physically, maybe audio, I haven't decided just yet. The other book that's not officially on my TBR is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, which I was kind of considering not reading just because I think a big part of me has already started to transition into more of like a Christmas mindset. But I have started this one and it's really cute, so I am going to read that in November before it's too late. As for all the books that are on my official November TBR, let's get into those. I have lately been kind of thinking about my reading plans and reading goals for 2025, and there are two specific things that I really want to focus on in the new year. First, I definitely want to focus on reading more classics, and I also want to read some more nonfiction. So in 2025, I will be doing a little bit of a challenge where I'm going to try and read one classic and one nonfiction for every single month. I thought it would be fun to start this challenge in November of this year, so for the classic that I want to read, I really hope to get to The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I have put this book on so many TBRs, and if I don't get to this month, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but this is going to be a priority for sure. I honestly really think that I'm gonna enjoy it, so I'm very excited about this. As for the nonfiction book that I hope to get to, I recently acquired Alexandria, the City That Changed the World, which is a nonfiction history book on the city of Alexandria. I have actually started this book, and I love how it's written so far, so I think that's going to be super interesting and fascinating for me to read this month. The rest of the books on my TBR are ones that I've just been really excited to get to. Some of them I have actually already read. We have A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Fisher, which I did actually already finish, but pretend you didn't hear that. Immortal Dark by Tigast Girma, which was my Outcry book from October, and I've just been really excited to get to this one. I feel like I've been seeing it everywhere recently. A series that I have been meaning to start for so long is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and I'm finally planning on getting to it in November, another book that I'm really going to prioritize this month. I also would love to read The Last Heir to Blackwood Library, which is a book that I picked up recently that I've never heard anything about, but it looks so good, like something I would absolutely love, a historical fiction about libraries and ghosts. And then the final two books on my TBR are two new releases that I have been so excited to get to. First, The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson, who wrote Dance of Thieves, which I loved. And then also Where the Library Hides by Isabel Abanez, What the River Knows is a book I read last year. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it so much. And honestly, I haven't heard the best reviews on it, but I just loved it, and it did leave off on a little bit of a cliffhanger. So I'm very excited to pick up the sequel, which comes out very soon. I am now just sharing with you all some of the books on my TBR for November in their physical form, the couple that I do own. Anyway though, that is pretty much it for my November reset video. I had a lot of fun taking you guys along with me as I prepared for November. I know we're a little bit into it now, but it was still fun. As I'm filming this voiceover now, it is a little bit into the month, and I can say that so far the reading month has been so good. I've been reading more, I think, than I've been reading all year, and I'm just very excited about it. Thank you so much for watching though. Let me know what you are up to in November and the books that you hope to read this month, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!